Alright, so I was finally able to get a PS5, and as you can see, my setup is trash. So you know I had to take the opportunity to make a dope project. So I'm using some 5/4 maple and milling it down to about 1 inch thick. These boards were pretty much random widths. They don't have to match perfectly as long as your glue up adds up to your final dimensions. This top ended up being about 15 inches wide by 41.5 inches long. I'm using the Craig ACS system to square up this top. It's not necessary, but it's real convenient to have. The dust is typically not this bad, but I think I actually forgot to turn the dust collector on in this shot. CNC machine that I'm using is Carbide 3D's Shapeoku 3. This is the largest machine that they offered at the time. And for the design, I just went on Google Images, found the PlayStation logo, and used the Carbide 3D software to trace it out. Okay, so I decided to go with the old school PlayStation colors. Again, I used a print off from Google Images to lay out where the colors are. For the paint, I'm using some water-based acrylic. Okay, so this isn't a knock on this brand because I have used them before and didn't have this problem. For some reason, I had a lot of air bubbles. I don't know if I was mixing too aggressive or what. Had this been for a client, I would have mixed up a new batch, but for this, I just decided to keep going. Most of the air bubbles did come out, however, it did cure on the soft side even after letting it sit for over a week. Okay, so I usually do this before I pour the epoxy, but what you're watching me do is put these dots around the cutout so that when I sand the epoxy down, I'll know exactly when to stop. Alright, so I got a little bit ahead of myself and I started sanding this before I hit the record button on the other camera. So yeah, let's get this going. So I'm using Rubio Monocoat for the finish. I think I got this tip from Blacktail Studios, but Rubio uses a 3-to-1 ratio. So for every tablespoon of finish, use a teaspoon of accelerator. So I didn't film the build of the legs simply because I wanted to make them out of walnut in the future. So I just made them out of some cheap pine I had laying around. I stained it with some Minwax black stain and then finished it off with some water-based polyurethane.